Around 1 million British pensioners have a right to a payment of almost £6,000 a year, and not one of them sees a penny of it. Not because they fail the conditions, because nobody ever told them it was there. Today, there are 5 of these. One of them arrives as a single payment of more than £12,000, and the window on it closes 12 months after your birthday. 4 of these 5 are not mentioned at all in the yearly pension statement. I read my own twice. I hadn't missed anything. There is nothing in there to miss. Let's start with the one people overlook more than any of the others. Nearly everyone I mention it to gives me the same answer. That won't be me. I still get about on my own. Joyce is 79 and lives in Doncaster, in a house with a steep staircase up to the first floor and a kettle she now fills halfway because a full one has become too heavy to lift. The arthritis is in her hands. Buttons on a blouse take her 20 minutes. And when her daughter comes over on a Saturday, the first thing they do is see to the bath. Joyce is certain no benefit applies to her. The pension comes in, there is a bit put by for a rainy day, so there is nothing to discuss. The payment is called Allowance. In Scotland, it now goes under the name Pension Age Disability Payment. A different sign over the door, the same thing behind it. In ordinary words, it is money for people who have reached state pension age and who need help or supervision because of their health. Now the important part, and I will say it slowly. This payment does not look at your income. It does not count your savings. It does not ask whether you own your home or rent it. And it takes no interest in whether you carried on working after 60. Joyce, with her rainy day money, has exactly the same right to it as somebody with nothing in the bank. There are 2 rates, around £77 a week if you need help either in the day or at night, around £115 if you need it in the day and at night. The higher rate comes to almost £6,000 a year, tax-free, straight into your account, and you can spend it on whatever you like, a taxi to the surgery, or the woman who comes in on a Wednesday to do the ironing.
And here is what nearly everyone misses, Joyce included. What gets assessed is not the diagnosis on a letter, but the help you reasonably need, not the help you already get, the help you need. Joyce did not think of herself as unwell because her daughter turns up and does it all herself, free of charge. So it was her daughter's help that kept Joyce certain for 11 years that there was nothing to ask for. Arthritis that makes dressing hard, failing sight or hearing, Parkinson's, a heart that is not what it was, early memory trouble where somebody has to be reminded to turn the cooker off. None of those words decides anything on its own. What decides it is the shape your day takes because of them.
Now the deadline, and it is an unkind one. This payment does not go back to the day your hands started hurting. It starts from the date your form physically lands on a desk at DWP. Every week spent thinking about it is gone for good, and nothing brings it back. The form is called AA1. It is long and written in the language of the office, so there is no need to face it on your own. Age, UK, and Citizens Advice will do it with you free of charge, and they know that form better than the people who wrote it. Joyce did claim in the end, not on her own. Her daughter sat down at the table and filled it in with her. Now a woman comes in on a Wednesday, does the ironing and changes the bed, and it is not paid for out of her daughter's pocket or out of the rainy day money. Joyce says Wednesday has become the best day of her week, and then adds that she feels foolish about the 11 years she lost. There is nothing foolish in it, because there was nobody to tell her what it was called. And here is where it touches the thing you fear most. This money helps a person stay in their own home longer, help around the house, a rail in the bathroom, a taxi to the surgery, somebody coming in. A care home usually starts not with one large disaster, but with small things piling up that nobody was there to sort out. If that was of use to you, do subscribe. The rates and the deadlines in these rules get looked at every April, and nobody is going to send you a greetings card explaining them. One question I will leave hanging until the end. Why a member of staff at DWP who spends 40 patient minutes on the phone with you and has your whole history on the screen will never once name the last of these 5 payments out loud? There is an answer, and it comes at the end. The second payment works the other way round. The first is money that could start coming to you. The second is money that should have been coming to you for years and did not. Eileen is 81. Preston, a widow. Her husband Ken drove buses for 34 years and died 6 years ago. All that time, Eileen drew her pension and never once questioned the figure, because the figure arrived every 4 weeks without fail. For years, the DWP computers failed to apply an uplift that women had a legal right to. This concerns women who retired under the old system, that is, who reached state pension age before April 2016. If you are a woman born before about 1953, listen to this part with particular care. The uplift was worked out on the husband's contributions. It should have raised the wife's pension while he was alive and stayed with her after his death. For tens of thousands of women, it never rose by a penny. Let's work it through on Eileen, calmly, step by step. She was drawing her weekly amount. Under the rules, she was owed around £16 a week more than that. £16 a week, multiplied by 52 weeks, comes to around £830 a year. The underpayment ran for 11 years. 830 multiplied by 11 gives more than £9,000. One payment, backdated. Eileen did nothing wrong. She did not miss a letter, and she did not lose a form. No letter about it was ever sent to her. Across the country, DWP has already found more than 130,000 of these cases and paid out over £800 million. The average correction for married women runs into thousands of pounds, and for widows, a good deal more.
Here is where the window closes. The automatic trawl through its own records is largely finished. From here, they find only the people who ring up themselves. This applies, above all, to women whose husbands reached state pension age before March 2008. Back then, the uplift was not awarded automatically. You had to ask for it, and it appeared as a single line on the husband's form, which the wife never set eyes on. The automatic part of that work is already behind them. And here, I want a word with those watching this, not for themselves, but for a parent. There are a fair few of you. I see it in the comments. If you still have a mother or a mother-in-law who retired before 2016 and has ever said her pension seems small next to the woman down the road, make that call yourself. Women of 80 are reluctant to ring government offices, and you can do it in 10 minutes. Eileen had her money taken by a computer. In the next story, a man handed his over himself, willingly, year after year, every February. The third payment does not come from DWP at all. It is handed out by people sitting in your own town, 3 bus stops from your front door. Ron is 74, Plymouth, living alone in a small house looking out at somebody else's fence. Every February, the council tax bill drops through his door, and every February he pays it, because that is what everybody does. The discount is called council tax reduction, and some councils call it council tax support. The average bill in England for a middle-band property has gone past £2,000 a year. For somebody on a fixed pension, that is one of the biggest items after heating. This is where pensioners lose not hundreds, but thousands of pounds over a few years.
The mechanism nobody explains works like this. Pension Crédit is awarded by DWP. The council tax discount is awarded by your council. Two separate offices in different buildings with different records, and they tell each other nothing about you. Your council knows your address well enough to send you a bill. For the discount, that knowledge somehow falls short. If you receive the guarantee part of Pension Crédit, the bill can go to nothing at all. Not a quarter off, not half. Nothing. And with that part, the savings limits for the discount do not apply. If you have no Pension Crédit, but a modest income and less than 16,000 put away, there will very likely be a partial discount for you. There is no deadline here that slams shut, but every year, without a claim, is a full bill you may not have been obliged to pay.
Ron wrote to the Revenues and Benefits Department at his council. He did not ring, he wrote, and that mattered. A letter lands on the desk of the person who handles these claims, rather than the person who picks up the phone. In the letter, he also asked for it to be backdated. For pension-age claimants, they normally go back up to 3 months, and where the council itself made the error, sometimes further. The first answer was no. That happens more often than one would like. Ron sent a second letter and asked for the reason for refusal in writing, with reference to the rules of their own scheme. A month later, the recalculation came through. Ron had been receiving the guarantee part of Pension Crédit for 3 years already, only he did not know it wipes the bill out altogether. So the refund for the earlier months and the bill lifted for the rest of the year came to around £2,000 between them.
£2,000 is the exact sum Ron had been saving on heating, sitting in a coat through the winter and putting the heater on in one room only. He was paying the council in full and going cold to manage it. Nobody lied to him. Nobody told him anything either. Ron, at least, knew the discount existed. The fourth payment is unknown even to the people who have already been refused it. The next one sounds like something that ought not to work, and does. To get it, you first have to be refused. Pat is 72, Swansea. Her husband, Gareth, is in his 7th year with Parkinson's. Pat helps him dress, cuts up his food, keeps track of his tablets, and gets up twice in the night. 40 hours a week adds up there without much trouble. Only Pat has never called it work. She calls it, we manage.
There is a benefit for people who look after somebody.
Careers Allowance, around £86 a week. And there is an overlapping rule. If your state pension is higher than that amount, and for most people it is nearly 3 times higher, they will not pay you Careers Allowance in cash. People apply, get a refusal, put the letter in a drawer, and carry on. Pat did not put hers in a drawer. She took it further, and that difference was worth more than £2,500 a year to her. What happens is that in the refusal letter, DWP confirms something called underlying entitlement, a hidden right. The meaning of it is this: you meet every condition. The only thing stopping us paying you in cash is the overlap, and that confirmation works as a key. It opens a separate edition inside Pension Crédit called the Career Edition, around £48 a week.
It turned out better for Pat than she expected. She had no Pension Crédit of her own before. Her income was a little over the threshold. With the Career Edition included, she came into Pension Crédit for the first time in her life, and on the back of it, that same summer, she got the council tax discount we were talking about a minute ago. A word of caution, and it needs saying honestly. If the person you care for receives a severe disability edition of their own, your claim can sometimes reduce theirs. Work it out across the household rather than for yourself alone. Remember the question about 40 minutes on the phone? We have arrived at it. The 5th payment
is the largest of all 5, and it arrives as a single transfer.
This is for people who have already reached state pension age but have never put in a claim. It sounds impossible, and there are thousands of them. Some carried on working and decided they would sort it out later. Some were sure the pension switches itself on, like the heating on a timer. It does not switch itself on. The state pension does not begin until you ask for it. And when you do put in a claim, you have the right to ask for it to be backdated by up to 12 months. There is no need to explain why you left it. Nobody asks for reasons. DWP pays every week you were owed, up to a full year, as one sum along with your first payment. The full new state pension is a little over £240 a week. Multiply that by 52 weeks. More than £12,500 landing in the account in one go. And there is the answer to the question that has been hanging since the start. That line is not in the standard script for the call. The person on the phone processes the claim you asked for, not the claim you could have asked for.
The system counts beautifully and gives no advice at all. It will answer the question you put to it and say nothing about the one you did not. And none of that silence is your fault. The words you need to say out loud go like this: I would like my pension backdated for the maximum period possible. Not, can it be started a bit earlier? Those words. And 2 honest cautions, because it matters more to me that you decide well than that you decide fast. The first, until you claim, the system treats you as deferring your pension, and for every year you wait, your future weekly payment rises by almost 6%. So you have a choice. Take the year as one sum now, or draw a little more every week for the rest of your life. People who had no idea they had to claim usually want the sum, but it is a decision, not a gift. The second, a large one-off payment lifts your savings, and savings above certain thresholds affect both pension credit and the assessment when care has to be paid for. If there is somebody at home who may need care in the foreseeable future, work that out beforehand rather than in the month the money has already arrived. The window here is hard. 12 months from the day you turned the age you needed to turn. Anything beyond 12 months is never backdated by anyone for any reason. That is the 5. And now the unpleasant arithmetic. If you are 70 now, and you have missed even one of them since the day you retired, the bill does not run into hundreds of pounds. It runs into the almost 6,000 a year Joyce went without for 11 years, and the 9,000 backdated that Eileen received, and the woman on the same street with the same story did not. The difference between them was not in their rights. Their rights were identical. The difference was one phone call. Start with 2 words on a sheet of paper. Attendance, Allowance. Ring the pension service, ask for the AA1 form, and the help with filling it in at Age UK is free. 10 minutes. And let me say this straight away, so nobody takes me the wrong way. I am not a financial advisor. I am an ordinary man who worked all this out because he had to. The rates and the thresholds shift about every April, so check on gov.uk or have a word with somebody who can see your situation whole. Now, a question I have no settled answer to myself. Would you take the 12,500 as one sum now, or would you rather have the extra on every weekly payment for the rest of your life? The answers will split about evenly, I know that already. What interests me is how you explain your own choice. And if you do ring this week, come back afterwards and tell me how it went. I read all of them, and your answers tell me what to make the next video about. Give it a like, not for my sake, but so it reaches the people who need it more than you do. And send it to somebody on a pension who never asks anyone for anything. Those are the ones this system treats worst. You paid into this system all your life. Go and check whether that money
has been sitting somewhere you never thought to look.